I always thought that if my marriage ever fell apart, I would see it coming, that there would be clear signs, late-night calls, secretive texts, unexplained absences. But the truth is, betrayal doesn't always announce itself with flashing lights. Sometimes it slips in quietly, disguised as something normal, something harmless. For me, it started with a trip I didn't know about. Serafina had always been close with her colleagues. She worked in a marketing firm where socializing was just as important as the job itself. Team dinners, networking events, after-work drinks. I had never thought much of it. It was just part of her world. But then, out of nowhere, she told me she was going on a trip. A work retreat? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Not exactly, she said, packing her suitcase. It's just a spontaneous getaway. The team decided to go last minute. We've all been so stressed, and this is a way to unwind. I leaned against the doorway, watching her fold a dress I had never seen before. So, the whole team is going. She hesitated for just a second, barely noticeable, but long enough for me to catch it. Most of them, she said, forcing a smile. Just the ones who could take a few days off. Something about the way she said it didn't sit right with me. Where are you going? I asked. Some beach town a few hours away, she said. It's nothing fancy, just a nice place to relax. I nodded slowly, trying to ignore the uneasy feeling creeping into my chest. When did you plan this? She zipped up her suitcase. Yesterday. I blinked. Yesterday? She shrugged. Yeah, it was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. We were all talking about how burned out we felt, and someone suggested a trip. It just happened. I forced a smile, but my mind was already spinning. Something felt off. A strange goodbye. The next morning, she was up early, moving around the house quietly, as if she didn't want to wake me. When I came downstairs, she was already dressed, her suitcase by the door. You're up early, I said, trying to keep my voice light. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Wanted to get a head start. We're all meeting at the office before heading out together. I nodded, watching as she grabbed her keys. Have fun, I said carefully. Call me when you get there? Of course, she said quickly. Too quickly. And then she was gone. The first red flag. At first, I tried to push the doubts away. I told myself I was being paranoid. It was just a harmless trip. She had never given me a reason to doubt her before. But as the hours passed, something gnawed at me. She hadn't texted. By noon, I finally caved and sent her a message. Me? Hey, did you make it there safely? No response. An hour passed. Then 2. By 3 p.m., my stomach was in knots. I tried calling. No answer. I checked her social media. Nothing. No posts, no check-ins, no pictures. For someone who always shared every little moment of her life, the silence was deafening. I opened the company website, scrolling through their recent updates, looking for any mention of a team retreat. Nothing. Not a single announcement. No group photos. No confirmation that this trip even existed. And then, something strange happened. Around 5 p.m., I got a text from her. Serafina, hey, sorry, bad signal here. Just got settled in. It's beautiful. I'll call you later. A bad signal? In a beach town? That didn't make sense. The unexpected discovery. That evening, still restless, I opened my laptop and searched for hotels in the area she had mentioned. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Maybe a post from her company, a tag. Anything to prove she was actually there. And that's when I found it. A hotel. A beachfront resort. Far more expensive than a casual work getaway. And in the recent reviews, a picture. A group of people sitting by the pool, laughing, drinks in hand. And there, in the corner of the frame, Serafina. She was smiling, wearing sunglasses, a cocktail in hand. And sitting next to her, far too close, was a man I didn't recognize. My blood turned to ice. I zoomed in, my hands shaking. She wasn't with a group. She was with him. I scrolled further, my breath catching as I found more pictures. Another angle, her laughing, leaning into him as he whispered something in her ear. A blurred shot of them walking toward the hotel entrance, alone. And then, the worst one, a picture taken at night by the beach. A bonfire in the background, Serafina and him, standing too close, her hand on his chest, his arm wrapped around her waist. I felt like I was going to be sick. My wife hadn't gone on a team retreat. She had gone on a romantic getaway. And the worst part, she hadn't even bothered to hide it. I don't remember how long I sat there, staring at the screen, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The images were right in front of me. Undeniable proof. Serafina hadn't gone on a work retreat. She hadn't been stressed or burned out. She had lied. And she was with him. The way she looked at him, the way she leaned into him, it was too intimate, too familiar. This wasn't just a colleague. This was something else. Who the hell is he? My hands were shaking as I started searching. I scanned the picture, looking for clues. The hotel name was in the background, which meant I could confirm exactly where she was staying. But I needed more. I focused on him. Tall, dark-haired, well-dressed. The way he carried himself, the expensive watch on his wrist. This guy wasn't some random co-worker. He had money. I tried reverse image searching, but nothing came up. I needed a name. I went back to Serafina's social media. She had been careful, too careful. No recent pictures, no tags. But then I had a thought. What about her colleagues? I searched through her co-workers' accounts, scrolling through stories, tagged photos, anything that might connect her to him. And then, buried deep in one of her co-workers' old posts, I found it. A company event. A candid shot of Serafina at a table, laughing, and sitting right next to her, him. The caption read, Annual Gala Night. The marketing team is on fire this year. And tagged in the photo was a name, Leander Vaughn. Digging into Leander. Within minutes, I had everything I needed. Leander Vaughn, 37, senior executive at her firm. Her boss. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. I kept scrolling, reading about him, finding more pictures, more details. He was divorced, no kids, no family in the city. He had been promoted last year, and according to his profile, he was known for mentoring younger employees. My stomach twisted. Was that what this was? A mentorship? I went back to the pictures from the hotel. The way his hand rested on her hip, the way she smiled up at him. No, this wasn't professional. This was personal. The phone call. I needed to hear her voice, to see how much she was willing to lie to me. I dialed her number, my pulse hammering. It rang. Once. Twice. Then she picked up. Hey, babe. Her voice was bright. Too bright. Sorry I missed your call earlier. The signal here is terrible. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. It's fine. I just wanted to check in. How's the trips? Oh, it's great, she said. We're just relaxing, having some drinks. The weather is perfect. I glanced at the picture of her on the beach with Leander, my grip tightening around the phone. You guys must be having a lot of fun, I said, my voice carefully neutral. She laughed softly. Yeah, it's been nice. Just good company, you know? Good company. Who all made it? I asked. She hesitated. A few people. Not everyone could come. Anyone I know? Another pause. You probably wouldn't recognize most of them, she said quickly. It's mostly people from the creative team. I felt something snap inside me. Lie after lie after lie. I forced a smile into my voice. That sounds amazing. You deserve it. She sighed happily. I know, right? I really needed this. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I'll let you go, babe. Enjoy your night. Love you, she said. I hesitated. Then I hung up, confirming the truth. I had two options. I could sit here, drowning in anger, waiting for her to come home and lie to my face again. Or I could take matters into my own hands. I opened my laptop and booked a flight to the same town she was staying in. Arrival. The next morning, I was on a plane. By noon, I was stepping into the very hotel Serafina was staying at. I wore sunglasses, kept my head low. I wasn't here to make a scene. Not yet. I checked into a separate room, then walked through the lobby. The place was beautiful. Expensive chandeliers, polished floors, everything top tier. I imagined Serafina laughing at me every time she told me we couldn't afford a trip like this. I made my way toward the pool area, scanning the guests. And then I saw her, Serafina, lounging on a chair, drink in hand. Leander was next to her, talking, leaning in too close. And then, right in front of me, she did it. She reached over and touched his chest, laughing. A small gesture, a big betrayal, the moment of truth. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to stay calm. I wasn't ready to confront her, not yet. I needed proof. I took out my phone and snapped a picture. Then I walked back inside. I went to the front desk, smiled politely, and asked a simple question. Can you tell me which room Leander Vaughn is staying in? The receptionist hesitated. Are you a guest? I pulled out my key card. Room 312. She checked the system. Mr. Vaughn is in room 506. I nodded. Thank you. Now I had everything I needed. Serafina thought she was getting away with it. She thought I was sitting at home, trusting her, waiting for her return. She had no idea I was already here. And soon, she would realize that the game was over. I stood in the hotel lobby, gripping my phone, my heart pounding with a mixture of rage and cold determination. I had the proof, the photos, the lies, the fake work retreat. I knew everything now, but I wasn't going to storm up to room 506 and start screaming. No. If Serafina wanted to play games, I was going to beat her at her own, waiting for the right moment. I spent the next few hours observing, watching, studying their movements. Serafina and Leander were too comfortable together. By the pool, she leaned into him when she spoke. At the bar, she laughed a little too hard at his jokes. And when they walked toward the private beach, she touched his arm like she used to touch mine. She had no idea I was standing just a few feet away. I snapped pictures, recorded small videos, logged every detail. This wasn't just about confronting her. This was about making sure she had no way out. The first move, that evening, I waited until she and Leander went back to the hotel. I followed at a distance, watching as they stepped into the elevator together. They were alone. His hand grazed her lower back as the doors closed. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stay calm. I pulled out my phone and sent her a text. Me? Hey, babe. Miss you. How's the trip? I stared at the elevator doors, waiting. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. Serafina. Hey, love. It's been amazing. Just had dinner with the team. Heading to bed now. I'll call you in the morning. I let out a short, bitter laugh. Bed now? I had just watched her disappear into a room with Leander. I typed back. Me? Get some rest, baby. Love you. Her response came fast. Serafina. Love you too. I tightened my grip on my phone, staring at those 3 words. She had no idea I was watching her lie to me in real time. The hotel key card. I needed more than just pictures. I needed to see it myself. I walked up to the front desk, put on my best exhausted traveler face, and spoke in a casual, friendly tone. Hey, I think my wife left her key in the room. She's in 506, but her phone is dead. Any chance I could get a spare for her? The receptionist hesitated. Are you listed on the room? I sighed. No, I wasn't able to make the trip, but I can call her real quick. I pulled up our anniversary photo on my phone and showed it to her. Her expression softened immediately. "Oh, you're Serafina's husband." I forced a chuckle. Yeah, I wanted to surprise her, but now I'm locked out. Typical me. She smiled, typing into her computer. "I totally understand. Let me just print you a new key." Seconds later, she handed it over. I took it, my pulse pounding. "Thanks," I said, and then I walked toward the elevator, gripping the key card to my wife's lover's room. The breaking point. I stood outside room 506, my fingers gripping the key card so tightly it nearly bent. I could hear them inside. Muffled voices. Soft laughter. I slid the card into the lock. The light turned green. The door clicked open. I stepped inside. Serafina was sitting on the edge of the bed, a wine glass in hand. Leander stood near the window, holding a drink of his own. They turned at the same time, their smiles dropping instantly when they saw me. Serafina's face drained of color. And Malric? I shut the door behind me. Leander tensed. "What the hell?" I raised a hand, cutting him off. "Sit down, Leander. You don't get to talk yet." He hesitated. Then, realizing he had no upper hand here, he slowly sank into a chair. Serafina shot up from the bed. "Malric, this isn't..." I held up my phone and pressed play. Her own voice filled the room. "Serafina, love you too." She flinched. "That was 30 minutes ago," I said coldly, "right before you came here." She opened her mouth, then shut it again, her hands shaking. I turned to Leander. "How long?" He exhaled, rubbing his jaw. "Malric, listen." "How long?" I repeated. He hesitated. Then, seeing the look in my eyes, he sighed. "4 months." A sharp, ugly laugh escaped me. "Wow, 4 months. Impressive." Serafina grabbed my arm. "Malric, please." I swear it didn't mean. I ripped my arm away. "It didn't mean anything." I scoffed. "That's the best you can come up with." Tears welled in her eyes. "I made a mistake." "A mistake?" I snapped. "A mistake is forgetting to set your alarm. A mistake is leaving the oven on. A mistake is not carrying on a 4-month-long affair with your damn boss." She broke down, sobbing. "I still love you." "Don't," I said, my voice like steel. "You don't get to say that." "Not anymore." Silence. Then I turned to Leander. "You can have her," I said coldly. "She's your problem now." Then I turned and walked out. Freedom. The next morning, I packed up my things and left the hotel. I didn't answer her calls, didn't reply to her texts. When I got home, I gathered her things, packed them into boxes, and left them by the door. She showed up later that night, makeup smeared, eyes swollen from crying. "Malric," she whispered, "please don't do this." I crossed my arms. "You already did." She reached for my hand. "Can't we fix this?" I pulled away. "No." Tears streamed down her face. "I didn't want to lose you." I exhaled. "Then you shouldn't have thrown me away." Her lip trembled. "I love you." I looked her in the eyes, feeling nothing but emptiness. "No, Serafina. You love yourself." Then I shut the door in her face. And for the first time in months, I felt free. The house felt different without Serafina in it. Quieter, lighter. I had expected the silence to weigh on me, to feel unbearable. But instead, it was a relief. There were no more fake smiles, no more forced conversations, no more wondering where she was when she didn't come home on time. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't living in a lie, cleaning out the past. The first thing I did was erase her from my life. I gathered her remaining clothes, her books, the little things she had left behind, and dumped them all into a box. Her favorite mug? Gone. The framed photo of us from our anniversary trip? Shattered in the trash. The perfume bottle she kept on the dresser? Tossed out the window. I wasn't going to let her ghost haunt this house. By the time I finished, the place finally felt mine again. The messages keep coming. Serafina wasn't done, though. The text started a few days after I shut the door in her face. Serafina, I miss you. Serafina, can we just talk? Please? Serafina, Malric, I know I hurt you, but don't throw us away like this. I didn't respond. Then came the late-night calls. At first, I ignored them, but after the fourth time she called at 2 a.m., I finally answered. Her voice was shaky. Malric, I exhaled, keeping my voice steady. Serafina, stop calling me. I don't know how to exist without you, she admitted. I hate myself for what I did. I ran a hand down my face, exhausted. That's not my problem anymore. Don't say that, she whispered. I still love you. I clenched my jaw. Then why did you cheat? Silence. I let it stretch between us until it became unbearable. Finally, she spoke. I don't know. I nodded to myself. That's what I thought. Then I hung up, running into the past. 2 weeks later, I ran into Leander Vaughn. I was grabbing coffee at a shop near my office when I heard someone clear their throat behind me. Malric. I turned. There he was, standing in his tailored suit, looking just as smug as the last time I had seen him. I stared at him, waiting. He shifted uncomfortably. Look, man, I know things got messy. I let out a dry laugh. Messy? He sighed. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. Yeah, I said, tilting my head. How did you mean for it to happen, Leander? Did you think you'd just keep screwing my wife and never get caught? His jaw tightened. Serafina and we had a connection. I smirked. Yeah? How's that working out for you? He hesitated, and in that moment I knew. I chuckled. She left you, didn't she? He didn't answer, but the flicker of anger in his eyes told me everything. Wow, I said. So you blew up my marriage for nothing? He stiffened. It wasn't like that. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. You know what the funny part is? You thought you were special. You thought you had a connection. But the truth is, Leander, you were just the next new thing for her. Just like she was for you. His face darkened. I didn't come here to fight. I smiled coldly. That's good, because you wouldn't win. I turned, grabbing my coffee. See you around, Leander. I walked out, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. A fresh start. That night, I found myself at the same bar where everything had fallen apart. But this time, I wasn't there to catch a liar. I was just living. I sat at the counter, enjoying my drink, when someone slid onto the stool next to me. Malric. I turned and felt genuine surprise for the first time in a long time. It was Celia, an old friend, someone I hadn't seen in years. She smiled. Wow, it's been forever. I found myself smiling back. Yeah, it really has. We talked for hours, laughing, catching up, talking about everything and nothing. It felt easy, natural. When she got up to leave, she hesitated. You should call me sometime, she said. I looked at her, at the warmth in her eyes, at the way she wasn't forcing anything. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel broken. I felt ready. I smiled. Yeah, I think I will. I woke up one morning and realized something strange. For the first time in months, Serafina wasn't the first thing on my mind. No anger, no sadness, no regret, just peace. I had spent so much time letting her betrayal consume me, letting it define my every waking moment. But now, she felt like a ghost from another life, someone I used to know, but no longer cared to. I was finally free. The last goodbye. Serafina must have felt it too, because she sent one final message. Serafina, I won't bother you anymore. I just wanted to say I'm sorry one last time. I hope you find happiness, Malric. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it. I didn't need her apologies. I didn't need anything from her anymore. For a long time, I had wondered if she truly regretted what she did, or if she was just sorry for getting caught. But now I didn't care. Her feelings, her guilt, her self-pity, none of it mattered to me anymore. She was a chapter one had already closed, rebuilding my life. The days turned into weeks, and slowly, I started rebuilding myself. I hit the gym every morning before work, pushing my body harder than I ever had before. Not out of anger, not to prove something, but because it made me feel strong again. I picked up old hobbies, reading, hiking, playing the guitar that had gathered dust in the corner of my room for years. It felt good to rediscover myself. I reconnected with friends, the ones I had unintentionally distanced myself from when I was too busy being a husband to a woman who never really deserved me. I started saying yes to life again, to weekend trips, to last-minute plans, to new experiences. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't just existing. I was actually living. An unexpected encounter. One Friday night, I found myself back at the same bar where everything had started to fall apart. But this time, I wasn't there to catch a liar. I was there because I wanted to be. The atmosphere was lively. Music playing softly, people laughing, drinks being poured. And for once, I felt like I belonged here, instead of just being a man haunted by his past. I was halfway through my drink when someone slid into the seat next to me. "Didn't think I'd see you here again," a familiar voice said. I turned, and there she was, Celia. She smiled, tilting her head. "You look different. Better or worse?" I asked, smirking. She pretended to think about it. "Better. Definitely better. We talked for hours, just like last time. But this time, it felt different. Lighter, easier, like there wasn't a storm hanging over my head anymore." At some point, she glanced at her watch and sighed. "I should probably go. Early morning tomorrow." I nodded. "Yeah, I should get going too." She hesitated, then reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. "You know, I wouldn't mind doing this again. Maybe not by accident next time." I chuckled, taking out my phone. "Are you asking me out, Celia?" She raised an eyebrow. "I'm giving you the opportunity to ask me out." I grinned. Smart move. I saved her number and slipped my phone back into my pocket. As I walked her to her car, she turned to face me, her eyes searching mine. "So, are you happy now?" I thought about it for a second. Then I smiled. "Yeah," I said honestly. "I think I am." And for the first time in a long time, I knew it was true.